Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the County Commissioner meeting of Cleveland County for February the 2nd, 2022. I'll call the meeting to order, and yeah, we have a quorum. Everybody's present. So at this time, is there anyone in the audience, anyone with us tonight would like to provide the invocation and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Jason? All right, everybody please stand.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you join me in prayer, please? Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity for us to gather here tonight. God, we just ask for you to watch over all those people that are out to protect us from the fire, law enforcement, EMT, 911 personnel, and all of our military. And God, be with the decisions that are made here tonight. Help them be pleasing in your sight and help them be wise decisions. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jason. At this time, we'll recognize any elected officials that we have. All right, at this time, we'll recognize any veterans that we have.
Jason Paul, United States Air Force.
Johnny Hudson, U.S. Army.
Thank you guys for your service. At this time, we'll recognize any law enforcement.
Danny Howe, Cleveland County Sheriff's Office.
Thank you, Danny. And at this time, we'll recognize any county department heads.
Marcus Thompson, Deputy County Attorney. Terry Melton, Assistant County Manager.
Katie Swanson, TSF.
Sherry Ladner, Tax Department. Kevin Hanson, Health Department.
Bruce Ward, Wade.
Jason Paul, Business Development Director.
Lucas Jackson, Finance.
Kyle Bowman, Land.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for all that you do. First item on the agenda tonight is a motion to adopt the proposed agenda. Are there any items to be added to the agenda?
Make motion to adopt the agenda as printed.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda as presented. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next, we're to citizen recognition. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody who signed up?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Ms. Nanette Lenhart. Let me go ahead and read this. The citizen recognition portion of the meeting is an opportunity for persons wishing to appear before the commission to do so. Each presentation will be limited to 3 minutes. The board is interested in hearing citizen concerns, yet speakers should not expect comment, action, or deliberation on subject matter brought up during this segment. Topics requiring further investigation will be referred to the appropriate county agency.
Thank you, Ms. Lenhart.
Yes, my name is Nanette Lenhart, 2502 Parnell Drive here in Shelby. And I'm just bringing up again, which Ms. Nolan, she updated me on why I'd not received any, response for my request about Cleveland County Schools, the monies and how they're handled. Now, I don't know what kind of answers I'm going to get because I don't know what kind of questions to ask. But if, and when I understand their sickness, when staff is ready to, get hold of me, I'm available, and I think she's got my contact information. And that's it.
Thank you. That's the only one.
That's the only one.
All right, thank you. Next is the consent agenda, and I'll call on our manager, Brian Epley, to present the consent items, the items on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fairly lengthy consent for board consideration this evening. So bear with me as I work through this. We'll begin with item A, which are the minutes in your packet for November the 2nd and the November the 15th regular commissioner meeting. Again, those minutes are in your packet for review. Item B is our annual order to advertise. North Carolina General Statute 105-369 requires the Board of Commissioners to authorize our tax collector to advertise unpaid tax liens in the local newspaper, and we bring this annually for that approval. Item C is budget amendment number 32 on the year, specific to transportation funds that will flow through to TAC, which is our designated public transportation authority. The request is to budget $44,088 in additional ROAP, that's rural operating assistance monies. And again, those will flow through Cleveland County from DOT to TAC. Item D is from Soil and Water Conservation, is budget amendment number 33 on the year. This is a request to budget $650 in rent fees for the rental of farm equipment that we have, and we're asking to budget that in order to do some equipment on some of that farm equipment, or excuse me, some repair on that farm equipment. Item E from the LeGrand Center, budget amendment number 34, request to budget $60,000 in payments received by the county in lieu of taxes, and we're asking to budget that for capital equipment replacement out at the LeGrand Center. Item F from the Finance Department, budget amendment number 35. As you all recall, at your last meeting, you approved the debt financing with Truist on Shell Building number 4 for an amount of $8.5 million. Item F is simply adding that to our original budget mechanically via budget amendment. Item G from the Planning Department is a request to set a public hearing. That would be for Tuesday, March the 15th, for case 22-02. And it's a request to make a text amendment to our Unified Development Ordinance, specifically Section 12-157 that deals with manufactured home parks. As you all recall, at your policy work session in September of 2021, the board directed staff to update this ordinance to promote compatibility of uses and development standards, specifically for the minimum lot size for mobile home parks and development density. And so those changes have been made, approved by the planning board, and we're requesting to set a public hearing for March the 15th for the commissioners to consider approving those. Item H, also from the Planning Department, is a request to set a public hearing, also for March the 15th. Again, a text amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance. This section is 12-161 and deals with recreational vehicle parks. As we're all aware, again, direction was given at the Commissioners' Policy Work Session in September of 2021. All we're doing tonight is setting the public hearing, but some of the changes that were made are being recommended are the removal of the 1 mile limit in between where parks are located, the addition of a solid waste container on site, and then upgrades to ensure public safety compatibility with road infrastructure. Item I, also from the Planning Department, again, a request to set a public hearing at your March 15th, 2022 meeting. This would be rezoning case 22-06, specifically a request to rezone from restricted residential to residential manufactured home parks located at 513 Borders Road. It's about a 1.96 acre tract. And this is, again, we'll be going to the planning board. This request is to set a public hearing for March the 15th. Item J is from the legal department, and this is a request for the Board of Commissioners to consider a bid proposal on 2 pieces of county-owned property. That would simply begin the upset bid process, and then we would run that upset bid process for the required amount of time and bring that back later to our board for final approval. The parcel numbers are 51976 and 26693. The first one is at 202 Blazer Street. The county's owned this property since 1998. It was part of a U.S. Marshal investigation. We have no cost basis. The original opening bid is $2,500. The second parcel is located on Country Club Road in Shelby. Was acquired via foreclosure in 2014. The county's cost basis is $15,645. Our opening bid is $17,000, which would be a surplus of $1,355. Again, at this point, we're just simply asking that our commissioners allow us to open the upset bid process and do the required advertisements, and then we'll bring back any findings we have. Item K is for our Board of Commissioners, and it's a resolution that would change the composition mechanics for the Board of Equalization and Review. Again, direction from your policy work session in August of 2027, and essentially this would allow for the board to be composed not only of Board of Commission members as seating Board of E&R members, but also that it would allow an appointment on an individual board member level to be reviewed and approved by the board at large. and passing that resolution would change that appointment process. So that concludes a fairly lengthy consent. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Brian.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I've got one on G, and I talked to Brian about it earlier, but I got a question about with the mobile home parks, the density of it.
Yes, sir.
And by us passing this for the county itself, but if a municipality wants something different, even though we enforce the ordinances, they can change it or modify it or do what they want to do inside a municipality. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's right.
Are there any other questions or discussion? Johnny, is that all you have?
Yes. If no other question, I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion second to accept the agenda as presented. All, consent agenda as presented. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the motion carries. Next, we're down to public hearings. Madam Clerk, prepare for this statement.
After the public hearing has been opened, persons wishing to speak for or against the proposition will be asked to come forward and first state his or her name and address. All comments from the public are to be directed to the board. There are no comments directed at other members of the audience. If a speaker has a question, that question is to be directed to the chair. No one will be allowed to speak at the hearing more than once unless the chair recognizes the speaker a second time for rebuttal of information brought forth after the speaker has spoken. The original presentation by a speaker will be limited to no more than 5 minutes. The rebuttal presentation will be limited to no more than 3 minutes.
Thank you, Phyllis. At this time, we'll recognize our planning director, Chris Martin, who's going to present Planning Department Case 22-01. This is a request to rezone parcel 1048 at 1572 Long Branch Road from light industrial to heavy industrial. Chris?
Good evening, board.
Sorry, Chris.
Phyllis was having to show me how to use a new clicker tonight before the meeting. We have for you tonight a request to rezone property about 40 acres along Long Branch Road near the intersection of South Battleground Avenue between the Kings Mountain and Grover, between the towns of Kings Mountain and Grover. The applicant is Michael Aho, and the property owner is McCree Holding Company. He's asking to rezone the property from light industrial to heavy industrial. The heavy industrial district accommodates assembly uses, fabrication, and manufacturing uses, whereas the light industrial, it accommodates some general business style uses and less intensive industrial uses. This area, you can see that the uses or that the zoning districts in this area are a mixed bag. You've got light industrial, which is represented by the blue, heavy industrial by the purple, and then the red, which would be general business, and then the white and yellow are residential style zoning districts. So you've got lots of different types of zoning districts, as well as the uses on the ground. That area consists of a lot of residential to the north, and then we all know along the highway, the Battleground Avenue, it consists of a lot of industrial and commercial uses. We presented the case to the planning board last Tuesday. They voted unanimously to approve, and that they noted that it would be consistent with the land use plan designation of intense development, and that it would be compatible with the surrounding uses. And I can answer any questions.
You have any questions? This is beside the brickyard?
It is. This property would be located beside the brickyard. Brickyard is on the triangle-shaped parcel on the corner of Long Branch and South Battleground.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I would have, if I had to assume, I would have assumed that the brickyard is about as close to heavy industrial as you can get without, and still being light industrial, right?
I would agree.
Yeah. So I don't think it would bother them as a neighbor, and then then it would be continuous heavy industrial and all that, I guess, the northeast corner of that map. So that's the only questions I have.
Any others? All right, so at this time, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against the planning department case 22-01, request to rezone parcel 1048 at 1572 Long Branch Road from light industrial to heavy industrial, please come forward and state your name and address.
My name is Michael Aho, 101 Bryant Street, Belmont, North Carolina. Here representing the owner trying to purchase the property. Just here for any questions, anything you have, to hopefully answer it. Thank you for the consideration.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against the rezoning the parcel 1048 at 1572 Long Branch Road from light industrial to heavy industrial? If there are, please come forward. Anyone else? All right. So then we'll close the public hearing, and this, commissioners, what questions or discussions do you have?
Well, it seems to fit in the mix, and there doesn't seem to be anybody, neighbors protesting or anything, so no more discussion. I'll make a motion that we approve.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the request. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. All right. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, guys. All right, now we're on to the regular agenda, and next we have Carrie Melton's going to present Health Department and Social Services Co-location and Financing Award.
I didn't get the instruction on the clicker, so I'll have to.
Carrie, let me show you real quick.
Test it out real quick. Board, I appreciate you allowing me to be here tonight and bring this item on the agenda before you. In theory, we've been working on this project since 2017, so it's been a long time coming. There we go. The objectives in my presentation tonight is to, one, go back to the beginning and talk about the project vision, talk about the pre-construction planning and how we really came up with the schematic drawings for the building and the renovations to it themselves. Third, to talk about our construction bid and our timeline moving forward on this project. And then lastly, to talk about financing of the project. So like I said, going back to the beginning, I wanted to talk about our project vision. So in 2017, the county did their first ever facility master plan. As part of that plan, the DSS buildings, more specifically the older part of the DSS building, was really identified as end of life and as a priority for the county. Also, as part of that plan, the health department really was identified as being underutilized. So the building was built bigger at the time than maybe it needed to be. Also, as part of that plan, we did some personnel forecasting and also some office space standards. For a long time, you know, when we built a building, there were no standards across the county. So those in that facility master plan were identified so we could move forward with, as we do these new buildings, we have consistency in space standards between departments. So after the opportunity really was identified with the health department, we went ahead and completed a post-occupancy evaluation and began planning and evaluating really the fit of the social services building moving into the health department, really from a space but also from a service delivery standpoint. We felt it was important not to just say, can they fit in there, but how will they fit in there from a service delivery standpoint. They really looked at, through the planning process, they looked at 4 Ps basically. The principles that indicate the goals for the project to be considered, programs that will make up the operational aspects of the commingled agency. And just to clarify, we are not consolidating health and DSS, but just co-locating them. The people that make up each of the operational programs and their space needs, and then lastly, the properties that will house the programs and its arrangements. So that's kind of how we started. So when we were looking at benefits of co-location, some of the things that were identified was, one, increased employee communication. Really having 50% of our workforce in one building would allow for some of that increased employee communication. Enhanced customer service. We have identified, even with DSS moving into the health department, there's still room for about 10% growth should either of those departments need to grow. Shared operational cost, obviously capital cost avoidance by not having to build a new DSS building. But really, to me, one of the biggest benefits is really the collaboration between the two departments. Things like community health rankings. We've already seen over the last several years those two departments really collaborating on a lot of projects, and I think having them housed in the same building is only going to make that even better. So that was, to me, one of the biggest benefits of the co-location. So pre-construction planning. In April of 2021, we hired Talley and Smith Architecture to do our design. As part of the post-occupancy evaluation, some schematic drawings had already been done, so we actually used what we did in the first part of this project and gave that to the architect to help move the process along. And then from there, the architect created all of the really design, the mechanical designs, electrical designs, and plumbing and fire designs for those renovations. The design team met about once a month, and as you can see here, we had a lot of people involved in this project. Obviously, DSS and health director, several of us were part of the process. Our maintenance director, information technology, electronic maintenance, our landfill director, because he is a general contractor, the architects, engineers, and then office environments. The reason why I put them on there, when we did the facility master plan and looked at space standards, one of the things identified as a best practice was really kind of modular offices rather than really just individual offices. So one of the things in this building that's kind of new to Cleveland County is really this idea of workstations as opposed to individual offices. Really, it's a more modern look. It allows light in. And one of the things that I think is going to be very beneficial of this type of design is the fact that instead of clients coming into offices of our social workers and case managers, we'll have interview rooms. So really, from a security standpoint, clients won't be allowed really past those interview rooms into the actual working space of our employees. So throughout the building, these interview rooms will be placed, and then our workers will actually come to those interview rooms to meet with clients. So that's certainly a best practice from a security standpoint. So construction timeline and bid. So we held a pre-bid meeting on December 1st, 2021. And you might ask, why is that important? I think a few of the things that are extremely important with this project in general was the fact that continuity of operations in this building is paramount. We're still in the middle of a pandemic, and we still have clinics that have to run. So it was really important that all of those bidding on the project met with the architect, took a tour of the building. Both the health director and DSS director was there. They talked about security. They talked about, like I said, continuity of operations. Phasing is extremely important with this. We will have some evening hours throughout this project due to some of the noise constraints. So that pre-bid meeting we felt was critical to whatever contractor was chose. The original bid date for the project was January 11th. At that time, we only received 2 bids. North Carolina General Statutes does not allow us to open those bids with only 2. So we did re-advertise and set a second bid date for January 20th, and we did have 3 bidders at that time. So we received the lowest, we received 3 bids, like I said. The lowest responsible bidder, and the contractor we're recommending to you tonight through our architect, this was a recommendation of those also, is Beam Construction. The bid amount was $2,382,000. So that's what we're bringing before you tonight as a recommendation. The timeline from here, you can see schematic designs done, funding approved, request for qualifications, architecture, permits. We've bid the project, so once the project is approved by the board, our hope is to begin construction by the end of February with a completion date of really, we'll say, by the end of 2022. So the first action I'm asking the board for tonight is to approve or deny awarding the construction bid to Beam Construction in the amount of $2,382,000.
Thank you, Carrie.
And I can answer any questions,
Yeah.
sorry.
Is there any questions for Carrie? So if there's no questions, we need to entertain a motion either to approve or deny the request to award the construction bid to Beams in the amount of $2,382,000.
I'll make a motion, we award the contract to Beam Construction.
Second.
We have a motion second to award the contract to Beams and the dollar amount specified. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, the motion carries. Do you have another one?
I do. So the last objective I want to just touch on real quick is the financing of the project. As you all may remember, earlier we did some debt refinancing, and this project was included in that debt refinancing. I just want to talk real quick about return on investment. The total project cost, which is construction and soft costs, the workstations, is $3.5 million. Savings, what we're estimating in terms of savings for utilities, property and liability insurance, building and depreciation, interest expense, because we do receive reimbursements from the state through DSS. We're projecting that the return on really the county's investment for this project will be about 3 years because of the cost savings we'll receive. Our financing recommendation is Capital One public financing for a total of $3.5 million, 10-year tax exempt borrowing, fixed interest rate of 2.95%. So the other action I'm looking for from the board is to adopt or deny the financing contract with Capital One public financing.
Thank you, Carrie. Any questions for Carrie on the financing package to go along with this project?
I'll make a motion that we award the finance to Capital One.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to award the financing package to Capital One. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, motion carries. That brings us to the end of the agenda. So Commissioners Board, do you have anything you'd like to report? Okay, no one? Staff? Brian, anyone else? Anything you'd like to say?
Could, since Stephanie's here, I hate to put you on the spot, can she give us a 1-minute update on our COVID numbers?
Yeah, I don't have anything formal tonight, but as you can imagine, we're not in a great place. Our numbers are still percent positivity close to 30%. We're close to about 27,000 cases in the county, averaging around a little under 200 now, so we're trending in a positive direction. I was on a call earlier today with the state health director and Department of Public Instruction, and she was kind of reviewing some of our statewide metrics, and so really we're starting to see those numbers decrease slightly, so I think there's hope. But when you're at nearly 30% positivity, I think we have a little way to go, but I think we're trending in a positive direction.
There's some light at the end of the tunnel.
I sure hope so. The tunnel's a little ways out, but we see some light there, yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, the next meeting of the Cleveland County Board of Commissioners will be held Thursday, February the 24th, 2022 at 1 p.m. at the Cleveland County Health Department located at 200 South Post Road. And this will be a Commissioner's work session. With that, we're at the end of the agenda, so I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?